This is the Arctic Leopard XE Pro S, a lightweight e-moto packing serious power, rocking a 20 kilowatt peak motor, 72 volt, 55 amp hour battery, good for around 50 miles of real world range and almost 100 miles in eco. Weighs just 164 pounds with KKE suspension, 202 millimeters of travel up front and 210 millimeters of travel in the rear, fully adjustable to your style. You get a TFT display with the NFC keyless start, Bluetooth tuning via the Far Driver app, 220 millimeter hydraulic brakes front and rear to keep everything under control. Big power, lightweight, full adjustability. The XE Pro S is ready to shred. Let's hit the trails and see what I really think about this bike.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a really cool video about the new Arctic Leopard, which is very similar to the new Vetra Blazer. Almost identical, a few minor changes here and there, but they're both going to be running a Far Driver controller. Both going to be running a 1918 with somewhat of a dual sport setup in the front, more of a traditional knobby setup in the rear, but they are kind of like a hybrid tire. .4 moto brakes front and rear on both of these bikes. Literally, they're going to be carbon copies when it comes to the controls. The same mode selector, the same throttle housing, same on and off switch for regen, same light switch, horn, reverse, no direct mount stems on these. So literally, they're going to be pretty similar. The main difference you guys probably see right off the rip are the gold forks in the front, and the side plastics are a little bit different. You'll also notice on the Arctic, you're going to get a black shock on the KKE rear shock. On the Vetra, it is going to be red. Now, some of the Vetras will come with red anodized hubs. It just really depends on when you order the bike. As of right now, the Vetras are going to be coming with black hubs, the same as the Arctic. Both of these bikes are available at revrides.com. What's that? Really? Okay. I'll let them know. What's going on, guys? Breaking news. If you are interested in an Arctic Leopard, Vetra Blazer, E-Ride Pro, or an Altis, I do have a code for you guys now, Team VPR, that you can use to get a free set of bars or pegs depending on your preference. All this info will be linked down below in the description as well. If you guys are interested, take a look. As of now, the Blazer is a little bit cheaper, but that can change in the future. To go over a couple of things that I really enjoyed about the Arctic, literally the power per dollar, 20 kilowatts for around 5,500 bucks is just a phenomenal deal. I really liked the riding position of this bike. So on the Vetra Blazer, you'll notice the bars are a little bit wider. Arctic Leopard, they are a little bit more sunken in. So it's one thing to kind of consider if you're looking for something for a wider bar setup. You might want to go for the Vetra. If you're looking for something with a little more narrow, fresh out of the box, you might want to go with the Arctic Leopard. Headlight's going to be the same. Front fender, which is the best front fender I've ever seen on the e-moto ever. Gold forks on the Vetra is really what sells me. They have red top caps on the master cylinders. Seat height, seat, everything like that is literally going to be the same 72 volt 55 amp hour battery, so you're going to get phenomenal range and amazing power. 20 kilowatts coming out of both of these bikes, which is amazing. Far Driver controllers are going to be the heart of these bikes as well. There is a possibility of bricking your bike if you don't know what settings you're messing with. I recommend, once you get into the Far Driver app, to screenshot or screen record all of the factory settings, so if there's ever an issue that you run into, you can revert back to stock and pretty much try again. The other thing I really like about this bike is the NFC keys. Altis was the first bike to kind of introduce this and make this norm. It is really cool to see Arctic and Vetra implement these into the bikes. It's just a cool feature to have. There's so many things you can do with Far Driver controllers. The options are endless. Now, when it comes to the seat, that is the only complaint that I had about the bike. It is very thin. I can see after about an hour of riding, it can get kind of harsh. There are aftermarket seat covers currently in development. Once those are readily available from RevRides, I'm definitely getting my hands on one. Foot pegs right out of the gate, fairly close to Warp 9 foot pegs. They're super nice, super grippy. I was actually really surprised when I first stood up on the bike how locked in I felt. Direct drive with a gearbox on both of them. The motor feels extremely smooth. The power delivery is extremely smooth and extremely torquey. Little longer wheelbase on these, so they're going to be longer than a E-Ride Pro 3.0, but it's not as long as an Ultra B, so it's right in the middle. The longer wheelbase does make the geometry of the bike feel a little different than what you're maybe used to. Balance point is definitely way back on like a Sur-Ron or like E-Ride Pro, but once you get on the trail, once you start ripping it, you get adjusted to it fairly quickly. As far as build quality, I didn't notice any weird rattles. I didn't notice any weird noises. The bike wasn't falling apart. Nothing came loose. It was really solid build quality. The bike just felt perfect for me. The main difference you're going to notice between the two is this plastic piece that's on the Arctic, and on the Vetra, they got away from that plastic cover. It is mainly there to protect the frame if you're wearing moto boots or just anything like that abrasive, but I prefer the clean look without it. I really appreciate you guys watching, so let's get into the Arctic Leopard review, take it out on the trail, see what I think about it, and at the end of this video, I'm gonna make a decision. I've test ridden E-Ride Pro 3.0, now an Arctic, and now that I'm seeing this Vetra in front of me, it's going to be a pretty hard choice. It's going to be a hard choice. I am a sucker for gold forks. Some of these Vetras will be coming with red anodized hubs. This one came with black. It would be cool to see the red anodized, but black is always clean. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let's go ahead and get to riding on the Arctic Leopard. And at the end of this video, I'm going to be making a decision on which bike I'm going to choose.
All right, guys, we're going to go over a couple specs just to get some clarification for y'all on the Arctic Leopard Pro XES and the Vetra Blazer. They're going to be very, very close, a few minor differences, but I'm going to try my best to give you guys as much information as possible without dying from these boulders. So right out the gate, we can touch on suspension. KKE front and rear upgraded suspension, not like your typical Sur-Ron suspension. So right off the bat, I can feel it is a lot more stiffer and absorbs a lot more of this impact compared to your stock Sur-Ron Light B KKEs that you're kind of used to. Power-wise, you're looking at 20 kilowatts of power coming out of the Arctic, looking at 20 kilowatts of power coming out of the Vetra. Key main differences you're going to notice is mainly your wheel set option, where the Arctic is going to be a 1916 in the rear, Vetra is going to be a 1918. Between the two, power-wise is going to be fairly much the same. Looking at 20 kilowatts of power, direct drive with the gearbox. So ultra smooth power delivery. Also, it's going to have a different sound to it, more of a whine. If you're snapping belts a lot with jack shafts, you might want to look into this. Eliminates that issue altogether and just makes overall the torque delivery more immediate, in my opinion. Then again, it's all going to come down to a preference. If you guys are kind of used to that delay, it's literally a microsecond delay. Some of you might not even notice. It just really comes down to your preference. You're also going to be looking at a full moto size seat on the Arctic. Compared to other bikes that are on the market, it is really nice to have a full moto size seat. Look at this view. Look at this view. All right, guys, so for range, you're going to be looking at 45 to 85 miles per charge, depending on how aggressive you ride. And also, it's going to come down to your body type as well. I'm a very light frame. I could probably stretch a little more out of it compared to someone that's more closer to the 180s to 220 range. The battery specs are looking at 72 volt, 55 amp hours. So you're going to get a lot of power and a lot of range out of this bike. So if you're looking for something that's got the power and the range, look no further. Arctic Leopard and Vetra are literally going to be right up your alley. Spoke a little bit about power, so now let's go down to the controller. You're going to be looking at a far driver that's coming stock on these bikes, so they're fully customizable. We will be doing a video on all those type of specs here shortly. But to keep it short and sweet, you're getting an aftermarket controller right out of the box. No need to spend another $1,000 on a bike you just spent thousands on. As far as wheels and tire package, you're going to be looking at a 1916 on the Arctic Leopard. If that's a staggered setup you like to run, that might be your choice. Vetra Blazer, you're going to be looking at a 1918. So it's going to come down to personal preference as far as what you prefer. Between the Arctic Leopard and the Vetra, what are the key differences? Because they are spec'd very similar. Looking at 20 kilowatts of power coming from a 72 volt 55 amp battery, which is going to give you plenty of range and power. All of that running through a far driver controller, which not only is a super reliable controller, it gives you the option to fine tune and adjust the bike to how you like it. Compared to most other stock bikes, their controllers are coming locked, meaning it is what it is when you get it from the factory. Typically, when something like that comes from the factory, you're kind of forced into buying an aftermarket controller, which is about $1,000. So you're in for the bike, and then you're going to be in for another $1,000 for an aftermarket controller. So it is a great option to look at if you're into customizing your bike and you want full control of your settings. Look at the Arctic Leopard, look at the Vetra. They're both going to be coming from a far driver. So let's talk about weight. As I'm going through these rocks, a heavier bike might become an issue, but the Vetra and the Arctic Leopard is going to be coming in at literally 165 pounds, guys. It is going to be close to like a Sur-Ron Light BX. So at 165 pounds, you're 40 pounds heavier than a Light BX, and you're getting 3 times the amount of power. For me personally, weight is a big factor because I'm a smaller framed guy. So it's going to be easier for me to manage, easier for me to maneuver, and easier for me to get out of sticky situations with a lighter sized bike. Between the two, they're going to be spec'd with 2 different wheel options, either a 1916 on the Arctic or a 1918 on the Vetra. Personally, I don't feel too much of a difference between the two, but then again, you might have your preferences, so kind of keep that in mind. Battery specs are going to be 72 volt 55 amp hour battery. A lot of range and a lot of power, pushing 20 kilowatts through a direct drive motor. It gets up and goes for 20 kilowatts. And having the full-size moto-size seat, you can shift your weight to the front and really get after it. It is super solid for the money. The value you're getting out of these bikes is just phenomenal nowadays. The technology is getting better. Everything is getting better. Now these manufacturers can pass those savings on to you guys, which is amazing. You're gonna get big .4 moto brakes, factory, so no need to upgrade anymore. Super solid. These are probably one of my favorite master cylinders that are out on the market. The throttle tune is super relaxed. The throttle tune will be different between the Vetra and the Arctic. Arctic is going to give you a little more dead space, so for right now it's perfect for me when there's a bunch of bumps on the road, a lot of micro twitches in the throttle. The Arctic is going to give you more of a snappier throttle, so you are going to get a kind of aggressive dual sport-ish type of tire, more of a traditional knobby rear tire on the back on the Arctic Leopard. So if you're into that type of riding where you're going to benefit from these type of tires, they're definitely going to work out for you. As far as the Arctic, there is an enduro version if you want a 21-18 wheel setup, so take a look at that as well. All of it's going to come down to preference, guys. It's whatever you guys prefer, whatever you're comfortable with. These brakes actually work really good. Let's try some wheelies on the bad boy, huh? Pretty good. Rear KKE, front KKE. It does good work. It is super solid. Way better than... I guess this is private property. No, he stopped. So you're probably wondering, with a 20 kilowatt direct drive, what is the top speed on these? As of right now from the factory with the current tune that's on the far drivers, top speed is around 62 miles an hour, really depending on terrain and the rider. Once you get inside the far driver and manipulating parameters, you can unlock more power. We will have a video on unlocking your far driver and adjusting those parameters soon. Now the Arctic and the Vetra are gonna have a couple different plastic options. You're gonna have a kind of like a guard here up against the frame, so if you're wearing moto boots, it's not going to scratch up your frame. If you're not too worried about that, and want somewhat of a cleaner look, the Vetra is not going to have that. So that is a main key difference in the plastics. All right, let's do another wheelie on it. Balance point feels great. Yeah, balance point feels amazing. Solid. Brakes stop on a dime. Literally, this is a really good package out of the box, guys. If you're interested in the 72 volt 55 amp hour, not only for power and range, this is literally going to be a really good option for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching the review. I had a blast riding this Arctic Leopard. It surprised me in every single way and blew all my expectations out of the window. 20 kilowatts of power on tap with that direct chain drive was just amazing. I honestly think after riding a couple bikes over the past couple months, I know originally I wanted the Altis. The weight is a big thing I'm always looking at. The Altis around 200-ish pounds, where these are coming in at 164 pounds. Coming in at 164 pounds on these with 1 kilowatt less than the Altis, I think I'm gonna have to go with the Vetra. This is gonna be the new bike on the channel. I am extremely excited to be introducing this, not only to you guys, but to me as well, taking it on all the trails that I normally ride, a couple street rides here and there. I got a couple mods already lined up for this. Tires, bars, direct mount stem. I'm gonna be making a couple videos and installing parts on this. Bunch of cool ideas I have for this bike, and I'm super stoked that I finally got back on a 72 volt. I love the Sur-On. After selling my Throne and then going back down to a 60 volt for a little while, I just really missed having that available power from 72 volt. Now going to a 20 kilowatt bike from a 10 kilowatt bike from my Throne Serpent, it's just gonna be a lot of power and a lot of fun. I don't know how often I'm really gonna use 20 kilowatts, but it's just really cool to have it on tap. Also, with this 55 amp hour battery on this, range anxiety is pretty much out the window. Of course, it's always gonna be there depending on terrain and distance, but just having that extra amp hour in this battery is just gonna make it a lot more enjoyable to ride. And plus, coming in at 164 pounds, which is 4 pounds heavier than my older Throne Serpent, it's just a no-brainer for me. 164 pounds, 20 kilowatts of power, a little longer wheelbase. Aftermarket support is not readily available yet, but give it some time and I know things will be interchangeable. Thank you guys so much for watching, and ride safe.